carousel. I can't get off, it never stops. Stuck on a carousel in my own personal hell.
Hi, my name's Nigel, and welcome to my podcast, Songs Nobody Asked Me For. This is a quick little introduction to one of my lovely interviews, and I'm so excited to be presenting my little interview with Kat Rose today. Kat was fantastic, really, for many reasons, and one at a time when it's been quite a struggle to get just interviews set up. She was really keen, enthusiastic, and we just kind of managed to set it up pretty much straight away. And I interviewed her while she's on tour. And I really just want to say, look, that felt very rock and roll when we did that. But also, what came across from me is a young woman on the up, if you like, somebody who's really pushing and working hard to try and get herself established in the music scene. I see her so often popping up supporting acts, doing so many different gigs with so many different people, and I think that's such a good thing to do. And as you hear her interviewed, she talks about how hard she's had to work to do what she does, comes from a sort of working class background, which I think is a struggle for people these days, as you'll hear us talk about, with the way that society and finances are today, and all of this sort of Spotify and it's very hard to make any money. So if you don't have any money in the first place, it's very hard to succeed, really. But really enjoyed the interview. She's funny and fun, and I like her music. I'd really sort of recommend you following her, going and finding her online, and enjoy the interview. Good to speak to you. Good to speak to you. What am I? It's like I'm on the phone or something. Yeah, go watch the interview. Hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you again soon. It's really lovely to meet you. And I really appreciate you coming on. And I'm a little bit, I think I said to you just before, nervous and excited, really, because you are the first person I'm talking to who I literally don't know at all, that I've never met, never spoken to. So
strangers.
Strangers. Well, now we are. We're going to know each other at the end of it. I'm sure it's
absolutely.
And I'm happy to own these things online. That I try not to know much about people in advance as well, because I kind of think it's really nice to ask people about themselves, really.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Nigel.
It's good, and taking the time out as well, because you're on tour at the moment, which is very exciting. I want to hear about that in a while. Yay! But I started to tell you a bit about the podcast and the sort of process of it, really. And it started off as a sort of me feeling sorry for myself a bit about a really difficult gig I did where there was a long wait before ever anybody applauded anything I did, and I was on with two covers bands and just feeling so frustrated about that. And started off as a bit of a pity party, this podcast, and then swiftly moved into I like doing this, and then some narratives and stories, and then slowly I've been moving into meeting people, really.
Wonderful.
And one of the things I suppose I always start with is really just asking people about their backgrounds in terms of what got you into music in the first place. What influences did you have as a child, or people you played, or things that made you start learning music, or that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question. So how did I start out? I think I've always been creative. I used to write a lot. My writing was just an extension of my brain. I used to write a lot of poetry and stories as a kid, as a form of like escapism as well. And I used to listen to a lot of music like through my iPod or whatever I could listen to music through, or like a CD even. Just constantly caning art, basically. But it got to when I was about a teenager, I started to learn how to play guitar and create my own songs. And that was very much like an outlet for me emotionally. And it was a way, especially as a neurodiverse person, to explore my emotions and like sort of put a name to them and like try and understand them a bit more. And it'll be quite a revealing process sometimes as well. Because you can learn a lot about yourself, I believe, through art and music, and it's beautiful when you get to share it with other people and they identify with it too. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So there's something about a journey of writing first and sort of creating and thinking in that way. And family musical at all? Do you have people, sort of parents who were musical or sort of creative?
No,
just you.
I'm the only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, fantastic. And you don't sound, I think you're based in sort of the southwest here now, aren't you? But you don't sound like you come from the southwest. Where are you from?
No, I'm originally from Darlington, which is about an hour away from Newcastle. I'm actually doing a show there on Thursday. Thursday, that's right.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, in Darlington. But I'm based in Plymouth, and at the moment
No.
I'm in Brighton because I've done a gig last night.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I'm in Liverpool tomorrow.
Goodness me.
So I don't know where
Non-stop.
I'm at anymore, basically. Um,
Non-stop.
but yeah, I moved down south when I was like 11, so my accent can go in and out a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that east to west, so I've got my Essex
Oh
accent
yeah.
comes in every now and then, so it's kind of I know what you mean. Yeah,
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 absolutely. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, with that. So you've actually been down here for since a child then, so quite a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That ruins one of my questions about the difference between the different music scenes, really, because you've been down here. But tell me about your musical career then. What did you first start doing? When did you first start playing? Where did you play? How did that go? It's kind of
So I guess it was in school. I did like an extra GCSE of music. So because I guess arts and music and drama aren't valued in the educational system, we had to have it as like an extra class on the end of
okay.
school.
Wow.
But that was amazing because that was the opportunity where I could learn a bit more about music and I had it with Mr. Paddy, who was like my music teacher. But interestingly enough, he is married to Mrs. Paddy, who was my English teacher. So
Yeah.
like I just looked up to them both so much. And
Oh,
we
wow.
started doing like little sort of school gigs and gigs around. And then when I moved to Plymouth, I started doing like open mic nights at like Voodoo Lounge and the SU, the uni I went to. Um, and then I got funding by Youth Music, which was a dream. I was so lucky to
Yeah.
have that because I got to make my EP. And yeah, that was sort of like the starting out bits, really.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Because that's it's one of the things that's been on my mind a lot. I mean, the other thing is you're the first woman that I've interviewed, and
Wow.
I'm keen for that, and I want to talk a little bit about that in a while, actually. But I'm also kind of aware of these narrowing paths of potential for people, and was thinking about class and money recently, and thinking that if you go back to the '60s, the Beatles were working class lads, didn't have any money. It was easier to just be on the dole
Mm.
and just to create, to do stuff. There were sort of opportunities for just people to spend time dropping out, being creative, and that's not around anymore, really, I feel. And so I wonder to some extent whether the ability to make music is getting more and more into that sort of middle class kind of, you need some money in order to survive doing it. So it's great to hear that there are some opportunities around for grants and an opportunity for some young people to sort of develop
Yeah.
without that financial backing necessarily.
Absolutely. Like that's one thing I've noticed as I've got older as well, because I think in school you don't really notice it because I come from a working class background.
Mm,
Um, and but of course, like to have guitar lessons or whatever, you need money or,
yeah,
if you've come from a background that's a bit sort of patchy in terms of like yeah, just it's all types of things. It's more difficult to invest in yourself or have
absolutely.
uh,
Yeah.
other things invest in. But then as I've got older, and I sort of feel like I'm a lot more behind as a working class musician than other musicians who have had the opportunity to have time, money invested in them because I've had to work like 10 times as hard, it feels.
Yeah.
Um, because which, it's fantastic that they were to get the opportunities and things, but I'm working hard to get the funding and like it's like those extra steps that you have to take.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it is, I think the music world is becoming a lot like more middle class than that because I've got
Mm,
like I've got 4 jobs including music. So I work
uh,
incredibly hard to just
you
to
do.
keep it
Yeah.
in my life, really.
Wow. And I suppose I wonder, I don't know if it's a cliche to sort of say that maybe there's something in that background that drives you more, though. It's kind of it makes you want to succeed. It pushes you more because you can see
Yeah,
that you don't have those opportunities in the first place.
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. it can work both ways. Of course, for all of us, it can work both ways. But it looks like that's how that's driven you, really.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it moves me into a sort of area it was sitting in my head, and that's about sort of being a woman and succeeding in this area, really. And I'm a really big fan of Joni Mitchell,
Yeah.
and just really, I talk a lot about her on the podcast. And as a woman, she was, as I understand it, really one of the first women to push back around saying, "I'm going to do my own material. I'm going to do what I want to do." Move
Yeah.
into this world, and it's great. And then you can see a succession of women, but I can name them rather than thinking it's just everybody. It's kind of, I can name them almost rather than thinking. And I was thinking when I was meeting you that when I've been around the circuit, I did a long period of singer-songwriting stuff before I was in the band, and I've been in bands in London in the
Wow.
past, and but I've come across quite a lot of it's almost like the way I would describe young women with a guitar on their back.
That is me
Really good.
all the time.
I
I
know,
don't
and
know if
that's
I'm
what it
really
made me
good,
think
but
about with
yeah.
you, because I saw them around, but what they seem to be almost cursed and blessed with is they would get, see them on the Barbican, on those sort of lovely open air cafes, and they're playing, but they're playing almost exclusively covers all the time, covers and all similar covers. And then I'd hear one
Yeah.
of them do like an original song, and you go, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" I'm chatting to them afterwards, and he's saying, just do more original stuff. It's really great. And they would say, well, I can't, because if I do the original stuff, I don't get the gigs and I
Yeah.
can't get paid. And yeah, I'm looking at you and looking at sort of your stuff online, and your Spotify presence, you have 40,000 likes, listens of one of your tracks. I mean, that's
Oh,
kind of about four times more than most people 10 times more than most people I meet. And that's fantastic. And you're out touring, and I wondered, is that your background and experience that you had to play covers all the time and you moved through? Or have you been able to sort of stick to thinking that I'm a songwriter? And if so, it's a long question. I'm just thinking of the younger women sort of coming through and trying to do that. What
yeah.
advice you'd give, or what sort of you think you've been able to do to what looks like move yourself a little bit above that difficult position?
Oh, I think in a strange way, you're always caught in that weird position of like, um, at least sort of throwing a few covers out there because I've always been quite stubborn in the sense of like I'll always do my originals, but I might throw in like one or maybe two covers just to ease the people that because there's most of the time if people want to go to pubs and that they want to listen to music sometimes that they already know because that's like a safety net, isn't it? And they can go,
Mm.
I'm having a good time. But then you get other active listeners who want to listen to singer-songwriters, want to discover something new, maybe which might be a bit more sort of, I guess, risky. I don't know because every singer-songwriter has um their own sort of mark on things, but maybe if people were a lot more open-minded to listening to newer music and newer artists and not so much things like in the charts and being like, oh, I know this one, um, then yeah. But I think, yeah, personally, I've always sort of stuck to the singer-songwriter route because I think it'd just kill me on the inside
Yeah,
slowly.
no
But
doubt.
yeah, exactly. But the advice to, I guess, like younger, especially female musicians as well, because that's a whole other
Mm,
topic,
it is. Yeah.
is just to keep doing what you're doing and believe in yourself, even when like no one believes in you. And this is like a really hard thing actually, is sometimes like if you can't believe in yourself as much, because I've had it where I don't like I've just been like, oh my God, everything I do is crap. What am I doing? Like you have a really complex relationship with your own
Yeah, I
music
know that
sometimes.
relationship well. Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? Because it's like an extension of you. But then people seem to enjoy it. So you've just got to, I know it sounds really corny, but stick up for yourself and believe in yourself and your art that you're putting out there. And that will take you rather than falling into trends or falling into things what people want, do what you want, and then the people who like it will be attracted to it in a
Mm.
way, you know?
I do, I do. I call it my sort of my fuck you place, really. At some level, is I just think I'm
Yay!
just going to do it.
I love
I
that.
had that career, and I was in indie bands in the early '90s in London, because I'm slightly older than you, and there were less covers bands around, and I think some of this is how we listen to music. because we
Yeah.
stream these days. So, when I was a young man, I bought an album, I would buy a vinyl LP, you
Yeah.
know. Now you have to listen to that. You have to put it on and play it all the way through. You can't really flick, you can't go through. And I think
Mm.
there's almost something in society that's retrained everyone's brains to be flicking. So if you don't like something, so I think that goes against us as doing original music sometimes, is that, like you were
Yeah.
saying earlier, it takes active listening. You have to come along and choose to come and listen to somebody. Um,
That's a really good point. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's part of it. And then also you have this massive body of music from the 60s through to maybe the 90s, the noughties for covers bands that everybody loves and everybody knows, and I think that's why it's expanded too. But it's great to hear that you're really pushing through that and really trying to hang on to what you do, really, because I think that at the end of the day, it is, yeah, utterly soul destroying at times. We played
Yeah.
a gig last week, and literally our audience was our bass player's wife. And
Oh,
you're there and you're thinking, oh man, and then you have to go, right, it's a rehearsal. I'm getting paid to have a rehearsal. And it's soul destroying. But then another time you go somewhere and you get a load of people come and there's lots of people there and then they're into what you're doing. And yeah, it's looking after your ego, looking after that sense of your creative spirit in those times when it's low and you just you've got anything there, really. That's
yeah, of
tough.
course. And everything you do is always experience and it's always like a learning thing. So yeah, I've done gigs before where like basically no one's turned up, but also at the same time it's like, yeah, but I did the gig and you take something out of it or
Yeah,
you meet
definitely.
someone or there's even though sometimes the music industry can be really soul destroying, yeah, as you said, it's like just looking after that that part of yourself that's like
Mm,
trying
mm.
not to let it get in.
Definitely. And the thing I've always done at gigs over the years is if we have a really small audience, I try to find one person that I can see that is tapping their foot or is just even just nodding their head, anything. And that's the person I focus on. If there are other people sitting there just ignoring what I'm doing, I focus on that one thing and I just think, yeah, there's one person and that's okay. And it kind of keeps me going, really. But it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard.
Indeed, it is. And people don't have that much patience. Like when you were saying about people flitting through, people don't have enough patience to like because there's loads of new music out there. There's like music every week, every day. Because I kind of enjoy that in a sense because I like to just consume every bit of music I can. However, I've also got the other side where I'll sit with an album and listen to it back to front, probably like I don't know, like 20 to 30 times, maybe even more,
Mm,
especially if it's Florence and the Machine. Uh, oh,
favorite.
yeah. But I think obviously the way people have listened to music and engaging with the music has changed because you've got TikTok, obviously social media.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a really strange and that's obviously affected income as well for musicians because
Yeah.
Spotify streams you get no money out of that really.
No, you
No,
don't. No.
I
I was
think
I
it
was
was
listening
like
to a podcast the other
yeah,
day. It's called The Rest is Entertainment, and
yeah,
Richard Osman is one of the people who talks on that, and he was asking the question of if you were going to earn minimum wage on Spotify, what would be the sales that you need? You've heard this, and it was Alison Moyet.
yeah.
I think he came up with. You'd have to sell as many records as Alison Moyet just to make minimum wage. It's just mad, isn't it? Really, and
It
it
was
comes back
bonkers.
to
It was
that
in its
class money
millions.
thing, doesn't it? It's kind of you think
Yeah,
you can't afford to do it. Can't afford to do it. It's
you're
crazy.
completely right. Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing because it is that thing of like it might look all oh, the amount of listeners or streams or whatnot, but at the end of the day, like there is no money in music. Like I know we know that everyone
Well, we
sort
know
of.
there's loads
I
of
mean,
money in
unless
music, but it's not coming to us.
exactly, it's not coming to the grassroots. There was an artist, I can't remember their name now, but they won a prize. I think it was the Mercury Prize, and they donated to like grassroots venues. And I think it's champion those as much as possible.
Mm, yeah, it is. It's really, in a way, again, if I go back in my timeline, it was always a similar thing, but different. So when I was in London, you're constantly trying to hope that an A&R man would come along, from a music company and sign you up. You're always into this place. But if you look at a lot of those big bands, they end up suing record companies because the record companies take the money and the bands don't get. It's maybe this is as old as time, Cat. It's just always around, and we just have to everybody has to fight. You have to keep pushing for what you do, you know, and
Of
believing in yourself.
course.
Maybe that's what it
Yeah.
is. I don't know.
And how
And
did you find that sort of when you were in your band era in London?
hmm,
Did you find it was a lot more difficult to get your music out there?
oh, yeah, well, it's just completely different, you know.
Yeah.
You go to recording studio to record stuff on one of those massive, great big sort of recording desks that were, you know, with tape, and I really sound old, don't I? And you know, you'd end up with a cassette tape at the end, you know, with your tracks, and all our, you know, all the marketing we were doing was, you know, we do fly posting, making stickers, doing was, yeah, it was completely different, and there was a massive movement at that time in London to pay to play gigs. Venues were making you pay to play.
Mm,
You know, I played the Rock Garden one time, and I think they charged us, which was a lot of money then, about 50 quid to play.
yeah.
And then said, oh, if you get some people along, you can charge them money yourself, which you don't want to do because you're trying to. That's crazy, you know, it's crazy. So when I first moved out to Plymouth and my first gig, and someone just gave it to me, oh yeah, you can come play here. Couldn't
Yeah.
believe it, really, you know. So it's kind of, yeah, it wasn't easy, but I think maybe it's never easy, you know, for different reasons, really. How have you managed to get onto this tour? I'm really curious about that because that's a lot of people would love to go on tour, and it sounds really glamorous and exciting. And I'm sure it's not glamorous, but it's probably quite exciting. And how are you finding the different places and venues? How are people receiving you?
Wow, yeah. It's a sort of an interesting thing to be fair, because well, I guess going back, it all starts back to last year, really, when I was making Wasteland, my EP,
Yeah, my son,
with
I've
youth
listened to it.
music. Oh, thank you.
That's good.
And it was this really sort of contradicting moment because I was actually going through like a really awful time, like mentally,
Hmm.
and I couldn't enjoy sort of the process because I think a lot of the time people go like, "Oh, it must be really fun being a musician all the time." It's
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 hard work.
complex.
Hmm.
It is work. Art is work, and I just got into my head quite a bit through the whole thing, and I was like, do you know when your brain's just like, I'm not good enough, I'm a piece of shit, no one wants to listen to this, why am I doing this for? Um, but that was just where I was mentally then. And then I felt like, because the rest of my EP was released this year, like in full, but my mindset's completely switched.
Right.
And I've been able to enjoy my music a lot more and feel proud of it and put it out there.
Hmm.
And that's the weird thing. So when I decided I was going to go on tour, because I've got like 4 jobs, I saved a lot of money, and rather than go on like holiday or anything, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna
Sure.
um go on tour. And because like for example, I'm in Brighton and one of my best mates from school lives in Brighton. And it's just an opportunity to sort of pop around and see friends or family, and
Hmm.
but also play gigs. That's why like tour sounds really mysterious and magical, doesn't it? But actually, you're just dotting around venues doing the same thing over and over again, meeting
Yeah.
fantastic, lovely people, and yeah, travel lodges.
Yeah. But making, yeah, and I guess that's it's early days. I think that's another thing that they say is quite hard to do these days. You know, for again young bands, one of the ways you would have succeeded in the past or moved forward was to just start going and playing lots of little venues all around the country. And of course,
Yeah.
there are less and less venues that are able to have original music for what we've talked a bit
Mm.
about before, because it's a bit of a punt sometimes, isn't it? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you don't know whether anybody's going to come along, whether people are going to stay. Whereas if you've got your covers band or your tribute act, you know you've got your captive audience. So yeah, it's a credit to you that you know you've managed to sort of get out there and do that. Really, I think.
I'm trying my best. It's like feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because I was really anxious. Like a couple of days back, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Um, but I'm just, yeah, you just gotta push through it, and I am enjoying it. But yeah, it's like a working holiday as such, you know?
Yeah, no, I can hear that. Yeah, I reckon that's probably the nicest way to do it, really, isn't it? You know, rather than just going to random places you don't know all the time. Just working holiday sounds nice. See some of your friends, sort of catch up with people. Yeah,
Yeah,
you've got to enjoy that.
absolutely.
I'm doing a dance all over the place with things I want to ask you, but they pop in my head, you see. That's the kind of way my brain works, and then I have to
I
ask
love
you
it.
anyway.
No worries.
Songwriting. Tell me about your songwriting process. How do you write? You were talking earlier. So I consider songwriting to be a hard thing. It's you have to craft a song, and I suppose meeting different people now, people write in different ways. Really, I suppose I was curious to think. Is there a way you write? How do songs come to you?
Um, I think it's just if I've got something to say, really, and I've always got something to say because I'm a loud northerner. But yeah, um, well, I guess Wasteland came from lockdown, and
Okay,
that's when I first started to be like a musician as such because um I wasn't working at that point because we'd all been put on furlough. And it was really strange because for the first time, I stopped
right.
and I was like, hang on a second, what do I do now? And I'm like, I have to spend time with myself. And what am I going to
Shocking,
do?
shocking.
Yeah, with my own thoughts. So I just started writing songs, and then that's when the Wasteland EP came into being, and then I guess me becoming an artist, but also like the Barbican Theatre is another place where I started out. Their
Oh,
Rebels program is just fantastic. It's
okay.
for young musicians, and you get opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily get. And it develops you, yeah, as well. So that was super helpful. I did that in 2021.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and then as I guess with the process of writing, like last year. Um, so much stuff had happened. Um, I guess because I was ill last year at my illest, I just basically locked myself in my room for a month.
Okay.
But I wrote an album, just to process everything that had
Mm,
happened.
mm.
And it was so weird because I look back at that time now, and it did all just come out in that month. I sort of describe writing songs as like doing a poo.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that one. Yes, a great relief
Yeah.
when you finished. Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes it comes out perfectly formed, and other times it comes out in bits. Apologies.
That's okay. It's okay. That's. I did ask you what the process was. For you. That's kind of it's a good description, really. Yeah, it's a very true description,
Unfortunately.
isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And sometimes it just comes out very, very quickly, and but that's rare. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is rare. Sometimes it does happen though, like um for example, when I did write that album last year, and a lot of them just came out quite fully formed.
Mm.
But this year, now that I'm sort of touring and I'm singing those songs, it is so crazy to look back at where I was. Literally, like you could sort of imagine it very sort of dramatic, being in my
Mm.
room, everything's dark, apart from like a little bit of sunlight coming through the curtains, me just sobbing, like writing. It's like sprawled out
Okay.
like I was possessed,
Mm.
basically. But it's so important, especially for your mental health and away processing. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
definitely.
beautiful to look back on that.
It's funny. There was, I mean, because I'm the songwriter in our band, the Curve, and I think I must drive them all mad because we've just been in the studio. It's always really exciting, isn't it? You go to the studio. We've done an EP, but
Yeah,
I'm already writing new songs. They're all in a place where they're sort of kind of because I love being in a band because I write a song and I bring it to them, and the way I work is I just say, look, here it is. You just work out whatever you want to work out, and then something new gets created. So I love that. But we're still going to go back and mix it all down. But my head's in new stuff now. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I've got this song and I want to try this, and I think that's part of the process. That there's something I always think painful and enjoyable about writing a song, especially
yeah.
especially when you're a bit constipated, to keep your analogy going. And there's something, yeah, painfully enjoyable about that. But then when you've done that bit, then it's got to sort of flourish into its own thing. But then while that's happening, I've then got that process happening again because I don't think you can shut off being creative. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I'll look back on something we've done, and I think I don't really like that one now. So I'll end up dropping one of the tracks because I'll just think, yeah, I liked it at the time, but it's not really. And it's part that's part of all the creative process that we do, isn't it? And you kind of learning about that about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really interesting as well. Like saying that, that when you were saying about that relationship with your music, like you'll write something and then yeah, later on you'll be like, oh, I'm not sure if I like that, you know?
Mm,
But then maybe in a few years' time, it's like, oh, actually that was quite good. Like because
absolutely.
art is subjective, isn't it? And it's even
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
subjective to
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, and then you go back and say, "Oh wow!" Or actually, what I've done because I've written something say 10 years ago and I never did it, and I bring it out now and I think to myself, "Oh, I could do this differently. I could do this like this." And we've got a couple of songs like that. And I've kind of half rewritten, if you see what I mean, or changed the vibe of them, or changed, And yeah, I think it's a useful process. I think I'm a bit
Yeah.
odd because a lot of my songs come from riffs and music. And speaking to a lot of songwriters, a lot of it comes from writing lyrics or sort of thinking about ideas. Doesn't mean I don't have ideas, but it's often they'll float around. But it's the riff or the sort of music that comes for me first. But it's the joy of
That's
different
cool.
musicians and different songwriters, isn't it? Everything is different,
Absolutely.
which is kind of the vibe of it all.
Everything's inspiration, and just because it's different doesn't it's completely valid. Like some people find inspiration from all types of things, and if you find it a bit more in riffs than that, yeah,
Where I'm
like
at,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. As long as I keep getting them, that's all. That's what we all want to do, isn't it? Really.
Like
So what's
catching
the plan
butterflies.
forward for you? Have you writing some more? Are you planning to sort of conquer the world now, or what would you like to do next?
Ah, I don't know about conquering the world, but I'm just on a musical journey, really. I love everything that I do, which I'm very fortunate at this point in my life to be doing. So I've applied for Help Musicians funding. So fingers crossed to get that because the album I wrote back in my depressive episode, I'd like to be able to put that out and work on it a bit more because that's like the first fully formed album I've wrote. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get funding for that, and that's just the next step, really. But if not, I'll figure out another way because I'm a stubborn goat.
Yeah, there's always ways. There's always ways. I don't know if you've come across the Musicians Cooperative in Plymouth at all. They're
No.
people that support musicians, but they have a recording studio, and it's where we go, and it's a lot cheaper than anywhere else. And I like it because they're a sort of social enterprise, and out there supporting people in the community. So it's a good tip if there's somewhere else you want to go that's a little bit cheaper to record. It's kind of
Brilliant. What was it called again?
it's the PMC. If you Google
Oh
PMC,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, so you'll have heard of that now. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's
So
fantastic because we need more of those to, as
I
yeah,
think so. Yeah, I think
create
so.
opportunities like that because you don't need to be in a big fancy recording studio to,
No, no.
you just need
But
to
you don't
get it
need to
out
go
of
one
you
at all, really, do you? That's the thing. But I just love
these
the
days.
creative process. We know we're going into a studio, so we work like mad for months because it's time is money, isn't it? So you want to just go in and bang, knock it out. But I do enjoy it. But yeah, you could pay ridiculous amounts of money to go do that, really, couldn't you?
Yeah,
And
it's
we're over
the
time. I'm going to finish this in a minute just because, yeah, it's about 45 minutes. No, about 40 minutes we've been chatting.
this has gone so fast. This
I
has been
know.
such a lovely chat with you,
Yeah,
Nigel.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for coming on, and
Thank you.
wish you lots of luck with the EP, which is great. I haven't even had a chance to talk about Seagulls, which is kind of like such a funny, quirky little song, and I kind of thought, well, that's a good thing to do sometimes, isn't it? Sort of gets it out there. It's very sort of quintessentially British, and maybe I should just say to people, go and listen to Seagulls. It's a funny song, and
Uh,
it almost made me think, oh, she's just arrived at the coast and has just come across seagulls, but clearly you hadn't. So it's kind of there.
they're everywhere. Seagulls are
They are.
worldwide,
They
which is
are. I know.
crazy.
They are. There's one on my mum's roof building a nest even as we speak as well.
Oh my
So they do. They
goodness.
build the nests in the chimneys, but my mum is very adamant she likes it, so she doesn't want it to go. Whereas often neighbours around where she lives by the coast, and people just chase them all off, or But she's going, no, it's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind. So
Yeah,
seagulls.
do they make much noise
A
around
bit, but
her?
she doesn't notice it. So yeah, they do. That's the
Yeah.
trouble, isn't it? They make noise, they steal things from you, and they can be a bit vicious in some of the coastal places where they're used to grabbing your food, aren't they? But there we go.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people need to find out all about them by listening to your song, don't they? Really?
Absolutely, yeah, because they're very complex creatures and quite magical creatures,
I think so.
seagulls.
I think so. Well, look, I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna stop recording, and then I'll just say goodbye to you properly and thing here. So thank you for
Absolutely.
your
Thank
time.
you, Nigel. Thank you
I'm
for
gonna
having me
press.
on.
You're very welcome.
It's nice to live by the sea, horizons from your window. There's no place I'd rather be. You think it'd be peaceful, but no. See, I've made some enemies. They have wings and feet like claws. I witnessed one steal a pasty with its mighty jaws. These gulls are shapeshifters. They fly by day and night, nest themselves near my window, nightmare neighbours from the seaside.